Okay, we are live. We're going to continue our discussion this morning with the Exit 16, the Virgin Diamond, which was talked about, just learned in 2011, I guess. We were one of the first, I guess, in the nation to consider it, but now it's pretty common throughout the country. And it was on Exit 16. Those are familiar. It's a Colchester, Winooski exit. And started construction last week, I guess, or a couple of weeks now. They've already got one side of it all because there had no walkway underneath it. They had to walk in the highway. The first phase, I guess, is going to be so people at least can walk up to the grocery stores or wherever, Costco, wherever it is. So with that, good morning, Mike. So why don't you give us an update? Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. For those who don't know who I am, I think I've met most of folks on this committee. Michael LaCroix, I'm a project manager within traffic design at Vermont Agency of Transportation. I have the distinction of being the project manager for one of our more complicated projects, complex projects, I should say. It's Exit 16 corridor rehabilitation, I guess. And part of that project is changing Exit 16. Okay.
I might add, when this was proposed many years ago, there was so much uncertainty about it, doubtfulness, and now that it's across the country.
Well, you must remember this.
Oh, sure. No,
No.
you drive it, no,
Yes.
no, sure.
Where was that?
So this is Route 7 looking north, and then the drive-in on your right is where the Shell station is. So the interstate would be in where the trees are, right there.
You remember that?
Oh, yeah, sure. We had drive-in, I still go in my area down the street from me. Sunset Drive-In has been there since I've been there in the store, so it's been there over 70 years. And it's still the only one that I know of. Maybe there's others. Then there was one in St. Albans, this one, Sunset, Dallas Bay up in Village. There was 4 in my area.
Okay.
Four.
We had Blue Moon.
Where was you?
Blue Moon Drive-In.
Yep.
On Route 5.
You gotta pack them every
You
night.
have the one in Derby. That's where my car wash was, actually.
Well, when was that photograph taken?
I want to say,
50s, 60s.
yeah, late 50s, early 60s, yeah.
Look at the movie and see what it was.
Curse of the Wild.
Cat. Curse of the werewolf. What's this cat's and dogs?
Okay, go right ahead.
Okay, so today we'll talk about scope. I've already spoke to you guys, you folks about scope on this project, but we will go over it again real briefly. I do want to give you guys an update on the schedule and where we're at today in terms of construction. So the scope of the project is it's not just exit 16 at 189. It's actually a whole corridor project. We're going to rehab the whole Route 2, Route 7 corridor from the Winooski town line for about a mile north to Sunderland Woods Road before you go down into the hollow. And we're going to full depth reconstruct the roadway. We're going to rebuild all the intersections along the way. And we're going to be doing quite a few other improvements as well, starting with stormwater infrastructure. There's no permitted stormwater infrastructure out there today. That's something that the agency takes seriously, and we really need to improve that.
This was held up because of a gas station who, as you know, claimed it was surface well water problem, which I never saw it. But and also up on Water Tower Hill, there's huge, thousands of employees up there on that hill up there. Okay.
Yep, exactly. There's a lot of development.
7 are concurrent there for a mile or more.
Oh yes, they are concurrent from Burlington to Chimney Corners. Yeah, so it's like 12 miles or so. We're also going to be doing brand new signs, new pavement markings, new traffic signals, and then the heart of the project is the reconfiguration of Exit 16, and that's going to be what's called a Diverging Diamond Interchange, DDI. This is just a quick shot of what the existing configuration looks like.
So will you just have to shut down that exit 16?
For construction? No.
No, you never do that.
Oh, no, yes.
Oh, and they can get off on the earlier or the later one and come around? I didn't know.
No.
It's, unfortunately, exit 16 is pretty isolated despite it being in a very
You have to
urban
go 20
area.
miles, you have to go 10, 15 miles.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yep. So in this particular photo, we are looking at an aerial of Route 7, which is left to right, just to give you a little orientation. Winooski would be on the left, Colchester Village and Points North to the right. I-89 north is to the top. I-89 south towards South Burlington and Winooski Wilson is to the bottom of the screen. And as you can see here, this is a great picture of what we're trying to deal with at the interchange. And one of the reasons why we have a lot of congestion and safety issues here is you can see just in the pavement alone, you can see the heavy left turning movements onto and off of the interstate. And so those left turning movements are so voluminous in both the morning and the PM peak hours that the whole corridor ends up just backing up. And so what happens is if we can somehow figure out a way to address those left turning movements, we can hopefully make the corridor more, tolerable. The DDI was scoped, the project was scoped back in 2010, 2011. The DDI was the preferred alternative because it could address those left turning movements without having to wait for a traffic signal. And I'll show you how the traffic flows in a moment. And so if we can unsignalize those left turning movements, it will make the whole interchange more efficient and safer. And as a result,
it's
the
a
rest of the
variation
corridor.
of a roundabout.
Yeah.
In many ways. Yeah, that's what Brian Sherrill said. Somebody called him complaining about some roundabout.
Yeah, similar to that.
So, and then here's just a visualization that we've been employing as part of our public outreach, just to kind of give folks a little more, visualization, some context as to what it could look like when we're complete. And then we'll talk about just what the DDI, how it's beneficial. So right now there's 117 DDIs in the United States, and we're seeing great reduction in crashes and capacity improvements as well. With almost every DDI, they keep getting better and better. States just can't build them fast enough. I believe they are either built or planned to be built in 48 of 50 states. So how it performs, pretty much what I just spoke about. It eliminates the signalized left turning movements for vehicles, and then there's essentially just gives them a yield condition so that while they're not having to wait for conflicting traffic phases, they can just move freely onto and off of the interstate. And then currently, as we sit here today, there are actually 37 of them being built. So that 117 is about to go over to 150 really shortly. And then the United States has another 157 on the books, including ours here at Colchester. So I'll just give you just a quick 60-second video as to how traffic will flow. And as you see, Route 7 in the middle here, traffic is going to cross over at a traffic signal to the left side of the road, and it will travel underneath the interstate bridges, which we're going to maintain, which is another reason why we chose the DDIs, because we could build a DDI and still maintain the existing bridges without having to tear them down because they are in perfectly good condition. And then what happens is once you cross underneath the bridges, if you wanted to, because you're already on the left side of the road, you can just slide right onto the on-ramp. And likewise, if you're coming off, say northbound here, you can just yield and take the left without having to wait a signal, because the former conflicting traffic is on the other side of the road. And then once you get another green light, you just continue on through. It's a straight through movement. Pavement markings and signs will guide you. There shouldn't be any sort of conflicts. So by eliminating that left turn signalization phase, we now are giving folks essentially the through movement more time in the signal cycle. So that's where we get the efficiency from.
So they're coming down off exit 16 when they want to turn left.
Yeah.
Right there. Where did they go? Oh, right, because they're on the wrong side.
They're on the
Yeah.
Yep. So they can just slide on, and if they want to take a right, they'll wait for the signal
Yeah.
in a clear spot, and then they'll head.
That's the hard part for people to get used to, because they're not going to the right side of the road for that little.
Yeah, there will be a learning curve here for folks, but we don't think it's going to be so drastic as many people think,
Yeah.
just based on our discussions with other states that have built them. People have managed to figure them out like really fast. So just like our roundabouts, people are a little hesitant or apprehensive about us installing roundabouts, but
Yeah.
it doesn't take long for folks to figure out that if you just drive counterclockwise, you are.
Once you get there, there really won't be anywhere else to go. You would.
Correct. You're separated, and so there is a dimension of safety there as well.
How many lights or signals are there?
2 in the existing condition, so 1 at the off ramp, the southbound ramps, and then 1 at the northbound ramps, and that'll be the same case in the proposed condition, except instead of there being 2 controllers operating 2 individual traffic signals, there'll actually only be 1. So 1 controller will be able to control both signals at the same time. So there won't be any sort of possibility of there being any sort of conflicts or whatever. Additionally, with the traffic signals, because this area is has high frequency of lightning strikes, believe it or not, does knock our traffic signals out quite frequently. We are proposing to install some natural gas backup generators so that the traffic signals shouldn't go out when there's a power outage. And that would, because if that were to happen at a DDI, that could create some additional confusion. So we really want to make sure those signals are up.
Costco up there to the right, and Shaw's, and there's tons of people that walk. There's no walkway now, they walk right on the highway. They'll have a path to walk from on the left-hand side all the way underneath. And very safe. They're doing that right now, they're constructing that right now.
Yes, and thank you, Senator, for the segue. Bicycle and pedestrian flow, there are no facilities. This project will build those facilities for those users. There's a high rate of pedestrian usage from folks that live in Winooski that try to go to Mountain View Drive, where there's a pharmacy and there's a grocery store. Right now, they have to walk in the roadway. It's super unsafe. So
Just look at walk there to Costco now.
To your point, Winooski has high concentration of housing, and this is the closest, best grocery store. So it is a huge pedestrian magnet. This will be tremendous.
South Burlington at all.
No, not at all. But I know this intersection.
It's almost
If
all
you
over.
haven't got any construction up there, if you could go back. But what I will say is my lovely wife, she works at Mounds Bay, and she always has to go to South Burlington. And I know this because from Costco to get to South Burlington, we're always stuck at this light. It's just a constant congestion to turn left, go southbound. So this is
Well, when it was
really,
built many years ago, it wasn't the Costco, it wasn't the big Mountain View wasn't there. It was good at the
Are they all
time.
offices that are at Water?
Oh, Tucker Hill, oh yeah, oh my God, there's insurance, there's all the beer.
some
invoices,
financial people up there.
There's hundreds and hundreds of people on that hill that work here.
Yep.
And it's all Colchester?
yes, this is all.
Yeah, it's right on the border, Winooski, Colchester, so it's not much of
Tiny bit.
So a question I get frequently is, how is a DDI going to operate in the wintertime? We get snow in Vermont, but at the end of the day, it's going to operate just like it would any other roadway in Vermont. 117 DDIs in the United States. Out of those of the 117, I should say, 68, so over half of them are built in areas where they get snow. I've talked to folks in Utah quite frequently, and they get a lot of snow. Their DDIs are handled well. Snow plowing happens normally, just like we would. We've already talked to our snow plow operators to make sure that they were okay with this design. They're fine with it. And actually, in some cases, they would help them because they wouldn't actually, some of their routes, they wouldn't have to go up to the interstate, use a U-turn to turn around. They could actually use the interchange and actively plow while making their turning around. And then the other thing to note, well, this is a little bit of a digression here, but the DDI actually inhibits wrong way approaches into the onto the interstate, particularly this location, because of it's what's called a tight diamond interchange. It's very easy for folks to take a left at the off ramp and enter the interchange either by accident or on purpose. And the DDI would effectively eliminate those movements because of the way the geometry of 7 is in the location and the design of those big islands. So exit 16, which has had a bad history of wrong way entries, this will actually secondarily fix that statistic. So
It's a huge thing.
yeah, absolutely.
So
So
that picture,
which one?
is that, but that's not the intersection we're talking
No, this is a shot of one of the Utah DDIs, actually. A lot of the Utah DDIs have their arterial roadway over the interstate, which is fairly common, but it can be either or. So in addition to the roadway, or in addition to the wintertime conditions, we are planning on a robust pavement marking package as part of this project, more so than we would normally do on other roads, because pavement markings are very paramount to getting folks, steering them into the right direction, making sure they make it to the left side of the road and back safely. Granted, when there's snow on the ground, obviously pavement markings are obscured, but we feel like this robust pavement marking project will stand up better to both tracking and plowing conditions. So folks say, well, how will I find the lanes when the roadway is covered in snow and I can't see the pavement markings? Well, what I tell them is that, well, you look for the same things that you look for now. You look at signage, you look at the overhead traffic signals, which are set up, aligned over the lane that you're taking. You look at vehicles ahead of you. You look at tire pads, right? All those things are still going to be there, present, just on the left side of the road. So I'm telling folks, this will not be a big deal. You will.
As long as there's a vehicle in front of you, who knows where they're going.
I mean, if you're the first vehicle through,
Yeah.
and before the plow comes through, it might be difficult, but that's why we have the signs and the signals. So, so that's the project in a quick nutshell. Where we are, we've made significant progress. Senator Mazza had mentioned that we scoped this back in 2011, so it's been in design for quite a while. We really want to make sure we got this right. We worked with FHWA, highway officials across the country and other states that had DDIs to make sure we got this just right. We've made it all the way to groundbreaking for what's called C1 or Contract 1. For folks some folks call it Phase 1, that's fine. So what we did was we broke out the project into 2 construction contracts. The first contract, the first phase, will rebuild retaining walls or build retaining walls underneath the bridges. And then we're also going to be doing some utility relocations underneath the roadways as well. Those items have to occur before all the other items are built anyway. So it made sense for us to break them out into its own construction contract. So that's what folks are working on right now. They have SD Ireland from Williston. They won the bid for Contract 1. They are actively working. Their first day of work was February 1st. They have already built the majority of one of the retaining walls, actually. Yeah, they have been moving, but they're going to be starting on the retaining wall on the west side of the road, and it's going to be a little slower because there's a lot of ledge that needs to be blasted out of there to accommodate that new retaining wall. The purpose of the retaining walls will be to keep the pedestrians off the roadway in the work zone for the next construction contract. So that'll be a huge improvement for them. The sidewalks leading up to those retaining wall areas will be constructed under C2, but at least to give them a little bit of space. And then in the second construction contract, that's when you're going to see the things that you're going to see as driving through the corridor and the interchange on a daily basis. You're going to see the new ramps, you're going to see the new signals built, sidewalks assigning. And a lot of this work is going to be done at night. There will be some daytime work. Blasting, for instance, has to occur during the day. Any sort of off-roadway work that they need to do can occur during the day as well. But the majority of the work needs to occur during the night time because there are 25,000 cars a day through there. And there are 6 lanes of traffic. And during the peak hours, all 6 lanes are full. So we don't have physical room for the contractor to be out there, so we need to be done at night. So what they're working on today, like I said, is the retaining walls. They're going to be moving on to utility relocation. That's when the majority of disruption, the roadway disruption, travel disruption through this corridor is going to occur in 2023. So it's good. It's okay now, traffic-wise. It's going to get busier as the spring approaches and into the summer and fall. And then while we're in there, we're actually going to be doing some ledge removal and some drainage as well while we're there. So here's the retaining wall that I was speaking about on the west side of the road.
This is
Here.
all done the last 2 weeks.
And this here, these are pictures. This is a picture that I took Wednesday. So they have made huge progress already. Fantastic. But they didn't run into ledge on that side, so they were able to go very fast. The pictures on the right side of this screen is where things are going to go slower. You can see there's significant ledge that needs to be removed, and the blasters haven't arrived yet. So they've just been hammering away with mechanical methods, and it's slow. It's hard, very hard rock. It's so hard that when you hit it, it just like disintegrates. Just so they can't get big chunks of ledge out at a time. So it's very slow. And just to kind of give you a sense as to where these are. So the retaining walls are under the bridges, like I said. The water line is going to be, the yellow line on this plan is a telecom duct bank. It's buried. There's an existing one that's buried under the road today. We need to replace that as part of our construction. So we're going to build that for the phone companies and the fiber optic companies so that they can come in and move their infrastructure into the new duct bank. And then the blue line on the west side of the road is a water line relocation. It's a 16-inch water transmission line, comes off Water Tower Hill, aptly named, and feeds pretty much the north part of Burlington and all of Winooski. So it's a major line. That line is in our way for the DDI construction. So Champlain Water District is going to be lowering that line, getting it out of the way, and building new infrastructure for that.
I can just imagine the negotiations that go on with that right there. I mean, some of those companies, they're going to be the benefactors of new technology or new infrastructure for themselves, but you know, to get them to want to pay for that, that must be a little tough as well.
It can be. In this particular case, 60% of the costs are actually covered by the federal government, because if a utility happens to fall within the limited access or the interstate right of way, it actually will be covered by the federal government. So Champlain Water District did have to do some bonding to get the other 40%, but the line was actually already, I think the line was built in 1973 and it was already showing signs of degradation. So they were going to have to replace it whether this project came through or not. So it actually helped them out. But the timing of this project helped them out because they were able to pay the majority of their costs. So SD Ireland out of Wilson, like I said, and they won the bid for this first contract. And their subcontractor is Main Drilling and Blasting. They're going to be in charge of ledge removal. The last piece that I'll talk about for this project is public outreach. DDI is an innovative traffic solution, engineered solution for congestion in the United States, and it is not very well. The northeastern United States is not very familiar with the DDI. We felt like we needed to do a more robust public outreach program for this project to increase its visibility, to help educate. So we hired a public information consultant to help us in working with the stakeholders, the users, the residences, and the businesses nearby, in addition to the municipalities, Colchester and Winooski. And what their scope was it's two-pronged. They are tasked with providing the public with information regarding the project, but also helping us do the education piece as well. So we have a series on our website. We have a series of tools that folks can go and check out. We have some animations, much like the ones I just showed you here a few minutes ago, but much longer. We also have some videos and some write-ups, along with a driving simulator, which will be going back out on tour this summer. We're excited about. It was out on tour going around the county for quite a while, but then COVID happened. And the driving simulator is essentially a video game that we took the actual model of this project, put it into a video game engine, and we got a steering wheel and some gas pedals, and people could come and drive the DDI, this particular DDI, and get used to it. And it was, it went really well. We were at the Champlain Valley Fair, and the lines to try the simulator were just so long. It was, and actually it helped because folks were able to actually visualize what we were trying to do. And it didn't seem so bad to them, because when you look at the DDI on a plan, it's like, oh no, you got all these roads going in different directions. I'm not going to be able to manage that. But when you get somebody out behind a steering wheel, you can see that it's a very smooth, fluid movement, and it's only for a couple hundred feet. People were like enlightened, like this actually can work. So we're going to get that driving simulator back out there this summer and next summer, and try to increase that awareness.
Did SDR get the whole contract? Is it all good? Everything?
The second part of the contract has not been let.
Oh, okay, so it is gonna be in second.
Yes,
Oh.
so we're hoping to put that second contract out to bid this time next year.
Oh, okay, I didn't know how
Yep.
that's broken up.
Yep. And part of that was COVID slowed us down, and then construction funding. And we had some legal obligations that we had to manage as well. So, and then the last piece of public outreach I'll talk about is Winooski is very close to this interchange, this project. There are 25 plus languages that are spoken by citizens of Winooski.
Yeah.
I believe there are 21 in the Winooski School District alone. We worked with the school district to see how they reached out to their citizens where English is not their first language. And a lot of those folks don't have cars, or they do a lot of walking, they go to the grocery store. So we really wanted to focus on making sure that they understood what we were trying to do if they didn't understand English or what, our outreach. So we beefed up our public outreach plan. We got some translation services. We have our website is completely translatable in all these languages that you see on the screen. In addition to some printed languages, for all our printed material, we have some translations as well. And we have, if any of our public meetings, we need translators, we have access to them as well. So that has been a very interesting piece to this public outreach, and so far has done very well. So, and that's the end of my presentation. These are ways that you can get in touch with the project team. If the public or anybody else has questions for us or comments, these are the best ways to reach out to us, the fastest ways, and we usually can respond back to people within 1 to 2 business days, depending on the response. So
This is good. We'll have an update every so often. Yeah, I'm sure to see it's finally happening. Great.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
So this is 2011, 2023. You said these are going up other places in the country. Would you say that's a normal amount of time, or is that longer than what you're seeing elsewhere in the nation?
that is longer.
Yeah.
I think when I was in North Carolina, they built 7 in 1 year. I think they're from scoping to construction was 3 years, I think. Utah built 1 in a weekend.
Would you care to reflect on why you think it takes longer here in Vermont?
Permits, so it's just this one project, isn't it?
Yeah, this is that one person.
I think Vermont is very sensitive to property owner rights, and so our right-of-way acquisition process is vigorous, and it can be lengthy at times. We did have some opposition to this project, some legal maneuvers, and permitting. Permitting, we really wanted to make sure we got this right. We worked closely with Agency of Natural Resources to make sure we had the right permitting. It also required Act 250. Act 250 did slow us down a little bit. It probably wouldn't have been as bad as we didn't have as much opposition, but we spent the better part of 5 years, I think, in Act 350.
That's because of the appeals, not because of the process.
Correct. Yeah, I mean, the opposition probably took up, 80% of that, but yes.
When was
Yeah.
this?
Time is money, and I would be very interested to hear more estimates on how much this project cost more over the life of the project because of those appeals and because of the delay. Just so that we can start to connect some of the local control and the rights that we all cherish so much to why it costs more to do things on our property taxes. So I don't know what kind of estimates you'd be able to do at the end of this project, but it'd be useful for me in my different conversations to put a dollar figure or percent increase in project.
It'll take 5 years to put that together.
Well, I will tell, yes, it will take a lot of time, but I will tell you it's 7 digits easy.
7 digits.
It's in the millions, low million. Like,
And the appeal was, I won't mention names of one particular person that had an appeal because of the wetlands, which is, I don't know where the wetlands were, but that held it up. If you want to appeal something, it held it up for years and years and years.
Yeah,
and
the
years.
money.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, that's really what makes the difference.
That's makes the
What is the, on the, I don't remember on the calendar, when completion date is when?
completion date for contract 1 is October 13th, I think. That might extend out into November.
But the project,
If we can break ground on contract 2 in the spring, summer of 2024, we could be done by the end of 25.
but not a weekend, obviously,
I'm sorry?
but not over a weekend. obviously.
No. That was a very specific situation that Utah was lucky enough they were able to close the whole interchange and put that in. But yes,
25.
yes.
Okay, questions?
That $1 million to 7 figures proportional to $30 million project.
I think we're looking at high teens, low 20s. We might hit 20, 21.
Thank you very much for the
Sure.
update. Appreciate it.